Have you ever wondered why someone who looks so confident, so charming, and so powerful on the outside always seems to crumble when you stop giving them what they want? The truth is, narcissists are not strong at all. They only appear strong because they trick people into believing their mask. Behind their carefully polished image hides a fragile ego that can shatter at the smallest crack. And if you want to truly torture a narcissist, the first step is to see through that mask. Because the moment you do, everything changes. A narcissist's entire existence revolves around one thing: control. Control over how you see them, control over how others see them, and most importantly, control over how you see yourself. They build an image of superiority and demand that you admire it. They need validation like they need air. Without it, their identity collapses. This is why they fight so hard to maintain their illusion. They want you to believe that they are untouchable, that their words define reality, and that your worth is measured by their approval. But here's the brutal truth: they are only powerful if you agree to play their game. Once you expose their weakness, you no longer fear them. And when fear disappears, so does their power. Imagine a magician performing an elaborate trick. The lights, the smoke, the distraction, it feels like real magic. But once you know the secret, the illusion is gone forever. A narcissist is no different. They perform tricks to keep you mesmerized, gaslighting to make you doubt yourself, manipulation to keep you under control, arrogance to convince you they're above you. But once you see the pattern, once you understand what they're doing, their tricks lose all power. This realization is the first form of torture for them, because nothing terrifies a narcissist more than being truly seen. They don't want you to recognize their emptiness, their insecurity, their desperate hunger for validation. They want you to keep believing in their false strength. But when you look at them and see through it, when you recognize that their confidence is fake and their superiority is a mask, you strip them of their greatest weapon, your belief in their illusion. Think about it. Every insult, every manipulation, every attempt to dominate you is designed to hide the fact that they feel small inside. They project their weakness onto you so they don't have to face it themselves. But the moment you understand this, the moment you stop taking their behavior personally, the tables turn. Instead of them controlling your emotions, you control the outcome. And that shift is torture for them, because now you are no longer a willing participant in their game. You've become the one who holds the truth. This isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming your power. Narcissists survive by draining the strength of others, by feeding off doubt, confusion, and insecurity. But when you stand in clarity, when you know who they truly are, they can no longer drain you. You become immune to their tactics, and that immunity is poison to their ego. Imagine how it feels for them when their usual tricks stop working, when their words no longer cut deep, when their control slips right through their fingers. That is the beginning of their downfall, and here's the reward for you. Once you expose their weakness, you unlock your own strength. You stop questioning your worth because you finally understand that their attacks were never about you, they were about their emptiness. You stop doubting your truth because you see how they twist reality to fit their fragile ego. You stop fearing their reactions because you realize their anger and arrogance are nothing more than cover-ups for their insecurity. This knowledge frees you. It gives you the power to walk into any situation with clarity, calm, and confidence. But here's what makes this even more powerful. Narcissists cannot stand the idea that you might know the truth about them. They thrive on control, and the moment you see through their mask, you hold something they can't take away: awareness. And awareness is the one thing they can never destroy. You may lose arguments, you may face their rage, you may even feel their attempts to manipulate, but deep down, you know who they really are. And that knowledge is their ultimate nightmare. So if you want to truly torture a narcissist, don't scream, don't argue, don't fight. Simply open your eyes, see them for what they are: fragile, insecure, desperate for validation. Watch as their power shrinks when you stop believing in their lies. The mask they spent years building will begin to crack, and behind it you'll see the truth they worked so hard to hide. They are not strong, they are not untouchable, they are weak. And the moment you understand that, you've already won. Because in the end, the greatest torture you can give a narcissist is the truth. And once you carry that truth within you, they can never recover. Do you want me to now craft the second section script about starving them of attention in the same style and word length so it flows perfectly with this one? Once you've seen through the mask, the next strike is silence. Nothing cuts deeper into the heart of a narcissist than being starved of the attention they crave. Their entire existence depends on reactions. Every argument, every emotional outburst, every moment you get pulled into their chaos feeds them like oxygen to a fire. They don't care if the attention is positive or negative. Your tears, your anger, your frustration, all of it fuels their sense of control. And that's why the most brutal form of torture is not rage, not revenge, but indifference. When you stop giving them what they want, they suffocate. Think about it. Every manipulation, every trap they set is designed to provoke you. They insult you to make you defend yourself. They lie to make you prove the truth. They twist your words so you get stuck explaining. But the moment you refuse to play, the game collapses. Silence is not weakness, it is strength disguised as stillness. And in that stillness, you take back everything they tried to steal from you. A narcissist needs to know that they matter in your mind. The idea of being irrelevant terrifies them more than anything else. They want you hooked on the drama, constantly reacting, constantly giving them center stage. But imagine what happens when you step out of the spotlight and refuse to give them even a second of your emotional energy. Their ego shrinks, their rage grows, and deep down they realize they've lost control. Your silence becomes louder than any argument, heavier than any insult, more powerful than any words you could ever speak. This silence is not about ignoring out of fear. It's about choosing to rise above. It's about showing them that they no longer own space in your mind or your heart. Each time you refuse to answer their bait, each time you walk away without reacting, you're breaking the chains they wrapped around you. It may burn them with frustration, but it heals you with peace. And that is why it's so brutal for them. Because what liberates you is what destroys them. Some will rage louder, desperate to pull you back in. They will try everything, guilt, shame, even false kindness, to make you speak, to make you react, to make you give them the energy they cannot live without. But when you remain unmoved, when you stand calm in the storm, their desperation turns into despair. They feel invisible, powerless, and irrelevant. That feeling is unbearable to them, because their identity is built on being the center of someone else's world. And here's where your true strength shows. The discipline to remain silent, to not explain yourself, to not justify, to not defend, that discipline is what builds unshakable power inside you. Every time you withhold your reaction, you're proving to yourself that you no longer live at the mercy of their games. You're no longer dancing to their rhythm. You're setting your own. And once you've tasted that kind of control, you'll never give it up again. This is not about coldness, it's about clarity. You're not ignoring because you don't care. You're ignoring because you do care. About your peace, your energy, your life. You've realized that their chaos is not worth your focus. You've realized that your silence isn't emptiness. It's a declaration of independence. It's proof that you are no longer their supply. And nothing tortures a narcissist more than watching their favorite source of power walk away emotionally while still standing right in front of them. Think about it. When you argue, they win. When you cry, they win. When you try to prove yourself, they win. But when you give nothing, when you starve them of the attention they're desperate for, they lose every time. You take away the very thing they cannot live without, your energy. And once you reclaim that energy for yourself, you start feeding your own growth instead of their ego. That is the ultimate victory. And this is where the real beauty lies. As they sink deeper into frustration, you rise higher into freedom. Their torment becomes your peace. Their collapse becomes your awakening. You don't just silence them. You silence the hold they once had over your soul. And that silence, that calm, that inner strength, becomes the most powerful voice you'll ever have. Would you like me to now create the next continuation script on unshakable self-worth, 700 to 900 words in the same motivational depth and flow so the momentum never breaks? When silence strips away their control, the next wound cuts even deeper, showing them a version of you that no longer bends, no longer doubts, no longer seeks approval. Nothing tortures a narcissist more than a person who discovers their own worth and refuses to let it be questioned. Their entire strategy is built on making you feel small because if you shrink, they can stand taller. But when you rise with unshakable self-worth, their illusion of superiority collapses right in front of them. They thrive on your insecurities. Every time they belittle you, they hope you'll believe it. Every time they dismiss your achievements, they hope you'll stay silent. Every time they twist the truth, they hope you'll surrender and agree. But when you know your value, when you walk with quiet confidence, their words lose power. They can insult, they can mock, they can try to break you down, but nothing pierces the armor of someone who already knows who they are. Your confidence is the mirror they cannot look into, because it reflects back everything they lack. A narcissist wants to be the sun, the one who shines while you orbit around them. But when you become your own light, you blind them. They cannot handle your independence because it exposes their dependence. They need your admiration, but you no longer need their validation. That imbalance is unbearable to them. They push harder, They provoke louder, they claw at your spirit, trying to make you doubt again, but every time you stand firm, you remind them of the one truth they cannot escape. Their power only existed in the space where you doubted yourself. The torture isn't in fighting them, it's in refusing to fight for their approval at all. You don't need their applause. You don't need their permission. You don't need their recognition to prove that you matter. And when you live from that truth, you tear down the false throne they sit on. Their superiority was never real, it only existed because you believed it. When you stop believing, the throne turns to dust beneath them. Imagine the storm inside them when you glow with self-respect. They may rage, but your calm burns hotter. They may insult, but your silence echoes louder. They may try to undermine you, but your achievements stand tall without their acknowledgement. Every attempt to control you fails, and every failure reminds them of their weakness. That is the slow, brutal torment of a narcissist, watching someone they once controlled become untouchable. And for you, the reward is immeasurable. Every moment you stand in your worth, you heal the wounds they tried to deepen. Every time you choose yourself, you rebuild the confidence they tried to tear down. Every day you walk tall, you take back the years of energy they drained from you. You don't just survive, you thrive. And in thriving, you deliver the most devastating blow to their ego, proof that you are more powerful without them than you ever were with them. This kind of confidence is not arrogance. It's not about proving you're better. It's about knowing you are enough. Enough without their praise, enough without their attention, enough without their approval. That kind of inner certainty is rare, and that's why it drives them mad. Because no matter what they do, they cannot take it away from you. They can attack your reputation, they can twist your words, they can scream and shout, but they can never touch the quiet, unshakable truth that lives inside you. The deeper you root yourself in that truth, the more they wither. Their control depended on your uncertainty. Their strength depended on your doubt. But when you anchor yourself in self-worth, they lose access to the one weapon they always counted on. They may try new tactics, but nothing works on someone who refuses to question their own value, and that refusal becomes your shield, your sword, your freedom. This is how you rise above the game entirely. Not by outsmarting them, not by outshouting them, but by refusing to let them define who you are. You know your value, and no voice, not even theirs, can rewrite that. And when you live like this, the torture is complete. Because they see you glowing, they see you thriving, they see you untouchable, and it forces them to face what they cannot stand. Their power is gone, and it will never return. Do you want me to now build the next continuation script, 700 to 900 words, on cutting the strings and walking away carrying the same depth and intensity, so the entire piece completes with maximum impact? When confidence hardens into something immovable, the final blow is freedom. Nothing delivers more devastation to a narcissist than when you cut every string that once bound you to their control. They live for attachment, for pulling your emotions like puppet strings, for keeping you entangled in a cycle of doubt and dependency. The moment you walk away, truly and completely, you give them the one thing they cannot survive: irrelevance. To a narcissist, being forgotten is worse than being hated. Hate still means you are thinking of them. Anger still means they have influence. Even pain means they still matter. But silence, distance, and detachment? That is death to their ego. When you move on without them, when your life no longer circles around their chaos, they are left with the terrifying reality that they no longer exist in your world. And for them, that is unbearable. Walking away is not just physical, it's emotional. It's when their words no longer echo in your mind. It's when their manipulations no longer dictate your choices. It's when their presence no longer poisons your peace. This kind of freedom doesn't come from running. It comes from cutting the invisible ties that made you question yourself. And once those ties are severed, you rise higher than they ever imagined you could. They may chase, they may rage, they may try to pull you back with promises and threats. They will throw every tactic they have, because losing you is the one loss they cannot afford. But when you no longer react, when you no longer engage, when you keep walking forward with your head held high, their desperation turns into torment. Every attempt to regain control only reminds them of how powerless they've become. And here is the deeper truth. Your freedom is not just punishment for them, it is healing for you. The life you reclaim becomes the very proof that their control has ended. The joy you find, the peace you embrace, the confidence you carry, it all stands as living evidence that they never truly broke you. Every step away from them is a step into your own power, and that power is what they cannot stand to see. There is nothing more torturous to a narcissist than watching you build a life that no longer includes them. When you laugh without them, when you succeed without them, when you find love, peace, or happiness without their shadow looming over you, It burns a hole in the core of their ego. They want it to be the center of your universe. But now, you've built a universe of your own, one they can never touch, never poison, never destroy. Walking away is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is declaring that your future is no longer chained to their past. It is refusing to carry their weight any longer. It is saying, without words, that they do not get to write the story of your life. You do. And the chapters ahead will not feature their chaos, their lies, or their games. They will feature your growth, your peace, your strength. And as you keep moving forward, something remarkable happens. The pain they once caused turns into fuel for your evolution. The wounds they left behind become the very places where your strength grows the deepest. The darkness they dragged you through becomes the contrast that makes your light shine even brighter. They become nothing more than a forgotten lesson, a reminder of what you will never allow again. This is why cutting the strings is the ultimate torture. Because not only do you starve them of control, you also prove that they were never as powerful as they believed. You rise, they fall. You build, they crumble. You heal, they remain trapped in the same cycle, desperate for someone else to fill the void you once filled, and that void will never be satisfied, because no one can give them the endless supply of validation they crave. Your silence, your peace, your absence, it echoes in their life far louder than any argument ever could. And while they spiral, you soar. That is the final victory. That is the moment they realize the truth they can never recover from. You are free, and they are nothing without you. Do you want me to now create one more powerful closing continuation, 700 to 900 words, that ties everything together into a final surge of motivation, so the audience leaves with unstoppable energy and clarity? Freedom is not just walking away from them, it is walking toward yourself. It is the moment you realize that everything they tried to take from you was never truly lost. Your voice, your strength, your confidence, your joy, they may have been buried under the weight of manipulation, but they were never destroyed. And when you rise from their grip, you don't just return to who you were, you transform into someone stronger, wiser, and more untouchable than ever before. That transformation is the final wound they can never heal from. A narcissist depends on the belief that they left permanent damage. They want you to believe that without them you are broken, that you'll never recover, that you'll always carry their shadow. But when you rebuild yourself, when you shine brighter after their storm, you shatter that lie. You prove that their power was never greater than your resilience, and nothing tortures them more than watching the person they tried to destroy rise higher than they ever imagined. Think about it. Every insult they threw at you was meant to weaken your spirit. Every manipulation was meant to bend your reality. Every attempt to control was meant to convince you that you couldn't live without them. But here you are, breathing freely, standing stronger, living louder. Your very existence becomes a declaration of victory. You don't need revenge, because your growth is revenge. You don't need to fight, because your peace is the fight they can never win. The deeper truth is this: what they tried to use to break you becomes the very fuel that builds you. Their rejection teaches you self-acceptance. Their cruelty teaches you compassion for yourself. Their manipulation sharpens your awareness and strengthens your boundaries. Their attempt to steal your power becomes the reason you finally claim it for yourself. And once you carry that power, you will never hand it over again. This is where the real torture lies for them, because they realize they didn't destroy you. They created the conditions for your awakening. They wanted you to depend on them, but instead, you discovered how to depend on yourself. They wanted you to be weak, but instead, you became resilient. They wanted you to fear losing them, but instead, you found freedom in their absence. That reversal is unbearable for their ego, and for you, it is liberation. You no longer measure your worth by how they see you. You no longer define your life by their approval or rejection. You no longer walk on eggshells, fearing their reactions. Instead, you walk with confidence, knowing that your value is unshakable, your peace is priceless, and your future belongs to you. That is the life they never wanted you to have, and that is why living it is the ultimate triumph. Every step forward is a message they can't silence. Every success, every smile, every moment of peace screams louder than words. You are free, you are powerful, you are untouchable, and as you rise, they are left to drown in the emptiness they always tried to escape. Because the truth they can never admit is this: they needed you far more than you ever needed them. Without you, their illusion collapses. Without you, their control is meaningless. Without you, their mask begins to crack, and there is no one left to believe in it. That is the brutal end for them. Watching you thrive while they wither. watching you grow while they remain stuck, watching you find joy while they sink into bitterness. They cannot recover from that because it forces them to face the one reality they have run from all their lives, that they were never as powerful as they pretended to be. And this is where your story takes flight. Not a story of surviving them, but a story of becoming unstoppable after them. You rise not in spite of the pain, but because of it. You carry scars, yes, but those scars are proof that you healed, proof that you endured, proof that nothing and no one can break the spirit of someone who chooses to rise again. So keep rising, keep walking in your truth, keep shining in your worth, because every step you take in freedom is another nail in the coffin of their illusion. And as they sit trapped in their cycle, you live untouchable, unstoppable, and free. That is the final chapter. That is the victory they can never rewrite. That is the torture they will never recover from. Would you like me to now weave all these sections into one complete script, around 3,000 to 3,500 words, in a perfectly polished flow for a full-length YouTube video?